Is there a secret formula for setting teenagers on the path to academic and personal success? Well, in today's episode, I want to dive into a conversation with the visionary co-founder of a company called Best Parents, which is an innovative education technology platform that's revolutionising the way that parents can discover educational opportunities for their teenagers. And Best Parents is not just about finding the nearest summer camp, it's about unlocking the full potential of our future leaders through inspiring programs and camps across 68 countries. And these opportunities are meticulously designed to give teenagers the edge that they need for admission into prestigious universities, from Harvard and Yale in the US to Oxford over here in the UK, all with the aim to prepare them for a future career, whether that be in medicine, business, tech, or any field that they're passionate about. And this is the beauty of what they do at Best Parents. It's not about parents saying, I want you to be a doctor. It is about allowing them to find out what are they interested about, what are they passionate about, and then allowing them to unlock that passion and turn it into a career. So today we're going to learn all about that, the role of technology, and discuss how Best Parents is leveraging AI to empower both parents and their teenagers alike with the freedom and flexibility to passionately follow their own unique paths. That's got to be so much better than a one-size-fits-all approach to education, hasn't it? So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where today's guest is waiting to join me. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you just tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Aditya Advani, and I'm a seasoned technology executive and AI engineer in San Francisco. I've had 15 years of experience, mostly as a technology executive, also as a lead engineer. As the lead engineer at 2 Y Combinator startups, and I've been the lead engineer at 1 unicorn as well. Parents is my current startup, and it's my first foray as a business owner.
And I absolutely love what you're doing here. Before we started recording the podcast, we were talking about the technical skills gap and the amount of opportunities there. And this is one of the things that put you on my radar, because Best Parents has become a crucial platform for parents seeking educational camps and programs around the world. So can you share the journey and the story behind all this that led to Best Parents becoming this go-to resource for educational opportunities in something like 68 countries? Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. The count of countries, exact count, it just keeps climbing. The international young learners world is very interesting. We also have 50 plus countries, 60 plus countries, 70 plus countries, 125 plus countries. And I think Best Parents will be reaching those heights. Every few months we look at it and we're like, wow, students from 10 more countries or whatever. So it's really fun to see everybody come in all over the world. The genesis of Best Parents actually is during the pandemic. So it's actually when everything went online that Burchin and I sat down together. She's the founder and I'm the co-founder of Best Parents, and realized how important in-person experiences, travel, personal development, and exploration really are. We studied the landscape of online education. We realized that online education is fabulous. AI tutors will get you very far. But at the end of the day, if you really want to learn something, doing it immersively, whether it's in person or through some sort of structured digital experience, is really the best way to go. It's a very vital and critical part of education that's, we feel undervalued generally. So a classic example would be language immersion, right? No matter how much you learn on Duolingo, at the end of the day, most people don't actually learn to speak or read another language until they actually immerse themselves completely for 2 to 4 weeks in that environment. That's just how it is. And we actually believe that's true of all kinds of learning. And so another component to this is actually, today's parents, they supervise their children very closely. And in the pandemic, they became even more close than ever. And this is partially because of the actual nature of today's technology itself. And so we thought it's really, really important for both the parents and the children to have these safe spaces where the parents know that the children will be safe, but the children get the chance to actually be independent and explore subjects and topics without their parents nearby. And that way they can really, become more independent and discover themselves and become more aligned with their educational outcomes. Because another thing that we discovered is that the minute you motivate a child by showing them themselves, like what they can be in the future, they instantly transform. So all the time at Best Parents, we see C students who become A students because they actually connect with the subject that's close to their heart, or they visit a university, or they meet a person who really inspires them. And once they realize like, oh, I can be like that, or I would like to be there, or this is something I can see myself doing 10 years from now, their entire outlook and motivation changes completely. And the main thing you need in today's world, honestly, is motivation.
100% with you. And with that belief that these educational opportunities can provide a competitive edge for university admissions, including prestigious institutions, I might add, such as Harvard to Oxford here in the UK. How do you at Best Parents ensure that these programs align with some of those expectations and some of those requirements of the top universities around the world?
Well, the top universities around the world, they, as the number of students has fallen, with more and more international students entering the situation. Like 10 years ago, there weren't tens of millions of students from Asia and Africa who were aiming at the same Western universities in the numbers that they are today, right? So universities now more than ever have more than enough qualified students and are dealing with like, how do we choose amongst students who all have excellent grades, right? Or largely have excellent grades. And so they've gone beyond that and they've started to look to like what really makes the difference there. And what really makes the difference is universities are looking for students who are very prepared, who know how to be students. So something that's very important to them is that these students have already connected with the subject that they really want to explore for the next few years, because the universities know that what makes the difference between like a very good student and a great student is the passion. Like, are they actually connected to this subject? Do they know people in this subject? And even beyond that, universities are looking for students who already have the meta skill of exploration. So, in school, you go to school, you pick a subject, there's exams, and everything is like set up for you, right? But in real life, especially with the amount of technological change we're all now experiencing, every 2 to 5 to 10 years, we all have to completely retrain ourselves. And that's a very arduous process. And universities are looking for students who already know how to explore the world in a structured way. Like, I tried this, I spent 2 years doing it, 6 months doing it. I realized it's not for me. I decided to try this instead. And I did everything in a structured, managed, and balanced way, taking the best of what I've learned and taking it to the next part if it can be transported, or just taking that experience and incorporating it into my worldview of myself. So universities are really looking for those two things, connecting with the subject and being able to explore. And so what Best Parents offers is exactly experience in that very precious extra element that's not offered in school.
And the evolution of camps from purely recreational to educational and enrichment focused is so significant, I think, especially in this technological age. So how does Best Parents curate and vet these programs to guarantee that they meet the high standards of quality and enrichment for teenagers? Because as you said at the very beginning of our conversation, it's all about getting kids interested in something and unlocking something that they're passionate about and directing that passion towards the topic. But how do you do this?
This is a fascinating and appropriate question. So Burchin was the founder of the startup. She's been in international education for 15 years. And we have several members of our team who have a decade or so or more individually of experience in this field. If you go to our website now and you go to like a landing page, like let's say medicine camps or any subject-based camp like that, and you scroll through the listings, you'll see that under each listing, we actually put a little summary about the provider. And if you go through those summaries, the answer to your question will hopefully, I hope you should probably try it, become quite obvious, because all of our providers have typically more than 25 years of experience. All of them have welcomed thousands of students from all over the world and have really high satisfaction rating. And almost all of them are accredited by really reputable organizations like the British Council, Swiss Learning, ACA, and other like university-related organizations in their respective countries. So we offer camps in the USA, UK, and Europe and Australia right now, as well as a few other countries like Costa Rica, but those are experiences taken abroad from within the other countries. So all of these are accredited by the top education associations within those countries. And all of them, like the oldest one has 140 years of experience, for example, in the Swiss Alps. So these are institutions where you can really trust that the outcome for every student will be excellent. And that's what we want Best Parents to be, right? We want Best Parents to be a place where parents can find the most trustworthy suppliers. And that's the whole point, that parents can just say, like, go teenager, find something on this website, and whatever you find there, we acknowledge that it's probably a great choice.
I love that. I love the way that the kids can almost direct their own future straight from their passion and then find that path, because it is so overwhelming at that age. And well, I would say one of the biggest improvements that I've seen in my lifetime is the realization that there is no one size fits all to education, and personalization is key to everything. So on that side of things, can you tell me more about how at Best Parents you tailor camp experiences to suit those individual interests and developmental stages, ensuring that perfect match for every teen once they're signed up?
Yeah, so how Best Parents does this is through using a really great AI quiz. We have really powerful counselors, and the counselors are often the ones that are using the AI tools on behalf of the students to help them. But it's true, in today's world, there's so many different options, and it's very hard to discern among them. For instance, like the difference between, we both seem to be like in the business adjacent space or in business like me, but the difference between, let's say, like accounting and entrepreneurship is actually so huge. But to kids and their families who may not be familiar with these domains, they can sound like the same, like, oh, I just want to study business, right? But actually, in reality, the world is very complicated, and there's so many different specializations. In health sciences, you have genetics, molecular biology, computational biology, veterinary science. Being an actual physician, being a researcher, there's just such a wide range, right? And kids are just coming with like, oh, I like biology, or oh, I want to be a doctor. But the truth is, the closer they get to the subdomain that they love within all those choices, the happier and more motivated they are likely to be about their choices going forward. And so we have a really powerful AI-powered recommendation engine that you can try yourself as well. It works really well. Or just book an appointment with our experienced counselors, and they will use that recommendation engine in order to find the best matches for each child. And then in terms of personalization, the majority of our academic offerings offer three things that are all incredibly important and very different from your regular school education in most places, right? And what are those three things? Those three things are individualized feedback. So your teenager will go away from home, participate in a small group setting with tutors who are usually university graduates or sometimes even university professors from famous universities, or, exceptional in sports or whatever activity the student is following. And they will get individualized feedback on their actual performance. They will also get small group tutoring. And the third thing that's really, really important is the actual 2 to 4 week curriculum of the course will be personalized with a capstone project that the student themselves pick. And that's actually one of the most fantastic and most interesting things about like Best Parents programs. That's different even from like going to a regular university pre-college program. If you go to a regular university pre-college program, you pick university level classes. It's exactly what there's like 20 or 30 kids in a classroom sitting in the back of the class following the material. But in the case of Best Parents courses, you can actually pick the exact subject or thing in your mind that interests you, like your curiosity guides you. So for example, I just helped a kid, one of them they're taking an AI course, but their interest is business. So they're taking an AI course where their personal project is how do we improve business management through AI? Or there's another one whose interest was actually cybersecurity. And again, I put them in an AI course, but the capstone project they've created for themselves within that AI course is related to cybersecurity. And now, along with the AI PhD, they're actually exploring like, what does AI cybersecurity even mean? I know that you had a fascinating podcast on this topic yourself. Like, it's a huge, huge topic. In 2 weeks, you can only pick like one thing. So now they're actually going to pick that one thing, study the fundamentals of AI, and the student themselves, along with the PhD researcher, is going to come up with a small research project where they're going to pick one of those things. So that's a really remarkable way to study. It just like lights a fire, like in people who are, anyway curious. And that's really what we give that makes the big difference. We help you find the right domain, the right expert through AI, and then we help you create those plans and projects through AI. We actually have another AI tool on our website that's really cool, which helps you write your personal statements for the short courses. And that also guides you into better knowing how to ask these questions. So it's like, a lot of students today want to do like a research project with a professor, but they don't even know how to ask, right? Or like, I need to improve my swing at golf, but there's so many things about my own golf game or what a perfect golf swing is that I don't know, right? So how do I write about that and talk about that? Yeah, I can help you with that too.
And I think we should also highlight that we're in this time of digital convenience where it's completely paramount in almost everything that we do and search for and watch and how we entertain, shop and everything in between. So how does the Best Parents platform streamline the entire booking process, and what additional support do you offer to parents and their teams before, during and after the camp? Because it's all about that entire journey, isn't it? Especially when making such a big decision around your child's education and future.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. So, we are involved with a lot of academics ourselves on like the importance of this kind of education. And as of yet, it's a understudied topic. It's not like early childhood education, which is very well studied. Everybody knows now. They didn't know this 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but now they all know that, interventions in early childhood yield these amazing results. So similarly, there's a very strong intuition and some research in terms of, extracurricular programs of the format that we're promoting on Best Parents, that they lead to these transformational outcomes. But there's not as much academic research on this as we would like. But there is a lot going on right now, and we are immersed in the world of it. So one of the most interesting things is they did a study of like why summer camp actually helps children from disadvantaged backgrounds. And one of the most interesting things that was shown is that actually it helps them remarkably much more, if I'm quoting this correctly, when they are then asked to recontextualize the experience a few weeks or months later after they've gone back to school. So not only does education give you a boost, actually thinking about it later, like how did it affect me? Am I applying the skills now? What do I want to do next? This gives you another level of boost. So one of the big things about Best Parents is we're not helping your child find one camp. We're helping them create a curriculum over the years that takes them on a journey from where they are today to where they want to go. And actually in the future, we're building AI tools so that the kids themselves can start to explore all of this. And when they finally come up with a plan or a few plans, they can take it to their counselors and their parents and ask them for their feedback. And we're trying to create a whole AI system around that kind of exploration, right? Because a kid should be able to come in and be like, oh, I really want to become a famous piano player, or, oh, I want to be more like Elon Musk, or whatever it is. And the, AI system and then the humans who review it later should be able to help the kid come up with a personalized plan. Like, oh, did you know that Elon Musk was a graduate of physics from a great university? Like, how are your math skills? How are your physics skills? Do you have the language competency to actually participate in those? Or have you already won a bunch of prizes and maybe it's a better idea for you to go outdoors and reflect? And that's the whole point is that, we are helping people do that. When it comes to actually booking each camp, I don't know if you have kids, Neil. I should have asked at the beginning. Do you, by any chance?
I do. He's all grown up though now. He's 23.
Okay, I see. Well, you probably had this experience before, but booking a short course outside of school for a kid, or even enrolling them in a school, I don't know if you've had that experience. It's actually pretty arduous. Like you have to write down all this information about them. You have to produce their passport. You have to produce their vaccine cards. In the case of dads, you have to remember their birthdays, right? Like it's actually like more than you think. So the great news about Best Parents is our form is much simpler. Like we have a common application for almost all the programs on our website. And the second thing is once you filled it out, you do not need to fill out again unless there's been a gap of more than 2 or 3 years. And so as a result, if you are in the business of exploring, like this is not the only extracurricular experience you're going to participate in, booking through Best Parents is extremely hassle-free versus trying to do it yourself. And this is before the, unending FAQ of answers that we answer, that our AI answers better than the others. Like, is the first day the arrival day? Do I need a visa? Do I need this kind of vaccination? What kind of letter do I need to write? We handle all of those details by reminding you and very often just doing them for you instead of like, please produce a letter, right? And so that convenience is all delivered largely through software. And of course, at any time, if you have any confusion, you can just book an appointment with us and just speak to our experienced advisors. So the whole process is smoother one time. And then if you have multiple children going multiple times, it's just an incomparable difference. Like many of our most loyal customers are parents who are working parents who are executives who have, 2, 3, 4 children and trying to manage all their travel through one place.
And a question I've got to ask, especially given the global reach of Best Parents and the diversity of programs offered, how does the platform address some of the challenges around cultural differences and language barriers in creating that seamless and inclusive experience for everybody? Because I would imagine there are a few challenges there initially, or have you overcome them now?
Yes. So actually, that's why the placement and the choice of supplier is, part science, but really an art. And we are really great artists, to be honest, at it right now. So one of the things that we do is, like I said, we construct that journey. So at the top end of our catalog, we have Premier League coaches teaching kids how to play football, or we have, actual Cambridge professors like heads of departments, prize winners, mentoring students in small groups on very advanced topics. But not every student is actually ready to be in that situation now, right? Part of that is cultural differences, part of that is language, part of that is academics. And so one of the things we do very well is we tell students like, yes, your goal is to be in this highly selective elite program, but based on your background and what we know, there's another program which is also excellent, often at the same institution. So like you can still visit Cambridge or you can still play football in a Premier League stadium, but that's actually targeted more for students like you who need to develop skill A, skill B, skill C, where, it's language or culture or whatever it is. And as a consequence, we put kids on this pathway to success and they're much more able to. So when you go to the program yourself, you're not going to have this meta conversation of, is this the right program for me today? Right? And we are the experts in that meta conversation, and that conversation and the follow-up really make like our outcomes much better than when going directly to the program, which found it on the internet.
And I think another area that will unify parents listening all around the world is those priorities and concerns around safety and security. So are you able to share any measures and practices that Best Parents employs to ensure that safe and nurturing environment for teenagers in these programs?
Yes. So again, one of the main things that we do is we vet all our suppliers really well and we study their outcomes and we interview each family. Our agents are also always available 24/7 during the camp to monitor the travel arrangements. So all our suppliers will actually pick up the student from the airport directly and drop them off at the end. So if they're traveling alone, there's no period during which they'll be like unsupervised by the actual supplier. Another thing is, all our suppliers have excellent policies about monitoring. Boys and girls are separated. The facilities are always, very well regulated. So, the majority of them, I would say, are actually college dormitories. So there's a very organized system of like, boys on one level, residence advisor, shared bathrooms, yes. But at all times, they have really taken security and monitoring and observability into account. But at the same time, they're very powerful and good institutions. So there is a large amount of independence as well. So for example, if we're talking about Cambridge, which honestly is one of my favorite destinations for teenagers because it's bucolic. And during the day, the kids can go to the town, to the river by themselves. But then come curfew time or evening time, they are being supervised by adults. So it's a really great balance of giving kids independence away from home in a safe environment, like trustworthy environment. So that's really how we it all comes down to like who are the suppliers. And this is really something that even Google, you can't really trust the reviews, right? Yeah. Because the ones who are not taking such good care of children will find a way to elevate those, right? So that's why you really need the experience of a human team who is following a rigorous system that uses both human evaluation and software evaluation to continuously monitor these institutions to understand what's happening. Because another thing that is happening is, it's strange to even describe, but but more and more these institutions are being sold to different groups, especially after the pandemic. And the standards are changing. So institutions that used to be excellent now are a brand that is being, used by someone else. And so they're still good, but are they good enough to really accommodate students from hundreds of countries? In our case, we're the people, we are that jury. We are studying their progress. We are evaluating everything as it's going on. And we will keep our site up to date. And we've made many changes because of issues like, what I just mentioned. And fortunately, we've actually never had any incidents at Best Parents themselves. We've caught everything preemptively, but it's because we take so much trouble about the safety and security.
And as we look into the future, where do you go from here? How do you at Best Parents plan to maybe evolve and expand your offerings to continue meeting the changing needs for teenagers and families, especially in the context of education and personal development? Anything you can share around what that future might look like for you?
Yeah. And how we think we're a technology platform. More and more in the future, education is becoming decentralized. So people are learning from apps, they're learning at home, they're learning on their own schedule. So in America, we have these two big trends, homeschooling and charter schools. And both of them are going through the roof. And everywhere you go, you see this trend. Right? In some places, like in Asia, international schools are still developing. So the central school is still very important. In other places where schools are very developed, schools are decentralizing and becoming like smaller pods. Parents are ganging up in groups and creating their own schools, basically. So the more and more that happens, the more and more kids start to learn online and in their different spaces, the more and more they actually need to come together in person with the same cohort over the years. And when I say come together in person, it doesn't necessarily have to be in person, but I mean engaging with other humans in a structured program repeatedly so as to get to know them and evolve with them, right? And that's really where Best Parents comes in that as the whole education system shifts more and more towards that, Best Parents is the piece of it that will be guiding like personal transformation of each student, but B, also managing a large part of their in-person activities outside of school.
Absolutely love that. And a question I've got to ask before I let you go is someone that is helping parents and their teenagers to continuously learn and follow their own path. I think for a lot of people listening, a lot of parents listening all around the world, that personal struggle to keep up to speed with the pace of technological change is very real. So I've got to, on the flip side of everything we're talking about here today, how do you self-educate? How do you continuously learn to keep up to speed with everything?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. I will say there's a mix in terms of personal learning. I find that AI tutoring is excellent, whether you're using ChatGPT to do it or whether you're using, different subject-based tutors. They're really good because they go at your own pace and you can ask whatever questions you want. And now more and more tools are coming out where if you see a complicated article or a complicated video, you can put it into the tutor and the tutor will break it up, right? But at this time, humans are still by a mile the best teacher, like the most inspired. So definitely don't forget that in order to truly be inspired, you need to connect with actual humans and actually also engage with the actual education content produced by humans because they are just amazing at it. But if you need more time to absorb it, then AI is a really good friend. Like it will actually do the rote work of teaching it to you. So that's really my first point. And my second point is we get a lot of requests from adults, right? So this is not something we address at Best Parents right now, but I think what we're offering to teenagers, there's something fundamentally very true about it, where if you take a 2-week retreat that's based on a subject that you love and you're connecting with experts and other like-minded individuals, you are likely to have a transformation in terms of like just that subject and personal development. And I definitely encourage more and more for all adults, myself included, to look for those kind of opportunities in their own lives because I see them with teenagers. They really work. And I have a strong conviction that they're going to work for adults as well.
I completely agree with you. I think there are so many people around the world that are looking to pivot into a career in technology or a completely different industry. and they just need that extra bit of help. And I think these kind of camps will be absolutely perfect for that. But I suspect that's a conversation for another day. But for anyone listening just wants to find out more information about anything we talked about today, where's the best place for listeners to find your team online, or just more information about the topics we covered? Where would you like to point everyone?
I definitely, although I am available on LinkedIn, I definitely would point them directly to the Best Parents website. If you fill out the contact form there or book an appointment, our whole team has all eyes on all those messages. We share all the knowledge in-house. So definitely that's the best way to keep in touch with us.
Well, I will get that added to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. I always say at the end of every episode, technology works best when it brings people together. And what I love about what you're doing here is how you're using technology to empower teenagers, parents and families with the freedom and flexibility to passionately follow their own path. And I think as a result of that, when they passionately follow that path, these educational camps and programs can equip children with that competitive edge that they need to get accepted in so many top universities, from Harvard and Yale in the US to Oxford and Cambridge over here in the UK. And there are so many other examples I could reel off all around the world. But just thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you so much for appreciating it. And yeah, it's exciting.
Wow, what an inspiring conversation. I think it's clear to me that the landscape of educational camps and enrichment programs is rapidly evolving. And I love their approach at Best Parents to using technology to not only simplify the search for the right opportunities, but also ensure that teenagers are well equipped for that journey ahead, whether that's aiming for a spot at a top university or exploring their passions in depth. And the insights from that conversation also prompted me to reflect on the broader implications of such educational innovations. How can we all collectively leverage technology to bridge the gap between passion and education? And how do we ensure that all these opportunities are accessible to everyone, ensuring that nobody gets left behind and foster a more equitable educational landscape? But as we all know, that is a pretty big topic, something we can't cover in a 30-minute podcast episode. So share your thoughts on the conversation as we explore how technology and education will continue to converge and hopefully shape a brighter future for our teenagers. So let me know. Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll keep this conversation going. The dialogue doesn't have to end here. So let me know your take on the evolution of educational opportunities for our youth. But that's it for today, so thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.